the gateway to purgatory. Venice, the city of masks, canals, and timeless beauty. But as the gondolas glide through the Grand Canal, a dark shadow lingers just a few miles away in the shimmering waters of the lagoon, an island so cursed that even the local fishermen refuse to cast their nets near its shores. They say the soil is not made of earth, but of human ash. They call it Poveglia. For centuries, this small patch of land has been the final destination for those the world wanted to forget. Its history is written in layers of plague, madness, and unexplained echoes. To understand the terror of Poveglia, we must peel back the layers of time. Starting with the year 1348, the Black Death was ravaging Europe. Venice, a hub of global trade, was a ticking time bomb. As thousands succumbed to the invisible killer, the city needed a place to exile the dying. Poveglia became that place. It wasn't a hospital. It was a purgatory. Men, women, and children showing the slightest symptoms were torn from their homes and cast onto this island. There was no medicine. There was no hope. Only the sound of the waves and the smell of burning pyres. The scale of the horror is hard to comprehend. It is estimated that more than 160,000 people died here during the plague outbreaks because the ground was too frozen or the bodies too numerous to bury. They were thrown into massive plague pits or burned. Over centuries, the decomposition of these thousands of souls transformed the very composition of the island itself. Archaeologists who visited the site confirmed a chilling fact. More than 50% of the island's soil is composed of human remains. When you walk on Poveglia, you are literally walking on the dead. But the plague was only the beginning of the island's descent into darkness. What happened next would transform tragedy into nightmare. In 1922, the Venetian government decided to repurpose the abandoned buildings on Poveglia. The plague years were long gone, but the island still stood isolated in the lagoon, far away from the eyes of the public. It was the perfect place for something society preferred not to see. A massive psychiatric asylum was constructed among the ruins. In the early 20th century, the treatment of mental illness was often primitive, experimental, and cruel. Patients were not seen as individuals who needed help. They were seen as problems that needed to be removed from society. Poveglia became a place where those problems could disappear. Patients arrived by boat, often restrained, confused, and terrified. Once they passed through the gates of the asylum, many of them would never leave again. To the outside world, they were simply forgotten. At first, the asylum appeared to function like many others of its time. Doctors monitored patients. Nurses maintained the wards. Treatments ranged from isolation to heavy sedation. But it did not take long before strange reports began spreading among the patients. Some claimed they saw shadowy figures moving silently through the hallways late at night. Others reported hearing faint cries echoing through the walls long after the lights had been turned off. Some patients said they felt cold hands brush against their skin when no one was there. Of course, the staff dismissed these claims. After all, they were working inside a mental institution. But the patients were not the only ones who began to feel uneasy. Several nurses later admitted that they too experienced strange disturbances. Footsteps in empty corridors, doors opening slowly on their own, the constant feeling of being watched. Yet the true horror of Poveglia did not come from ghosts. It came from the doctor who ran the asylum. According to local legends and fragments of archived testimonies, the lead physician was obsessed with unlocking the hidden secrets of the human mind. He believed madness could be cured if the brain itself was altered. Inside the island's old bell tower, he built a private operating room far away from the other staff. There, he performed experimental procedures on patients using crude tools. Drills, hammers, chisels. Early forms of frontal lobotomy were carried out without anesthesia, without consent, and without mercy. The screams from the tower were said to echo across the island during the night. Years passed as the doctor ruled over his isolated kingdom of suffering, but eventually, something began to change. The doctor himself started claiming he was being haunted. He reported seeing dark figures standing at the end of corridors. He heard whispers calling his name from empty rooms, the spirits of plague victims, the voices of the patients he had experimented on. Night after night, the visions grew stronger, until one evening, the terrified doctor climbed to the top of the bell tower. The echoes in the lagoon. The asylum closed in 1968. Since then, Poveglia has remained abandoned. The Italian government has tried many times to sell the island. Plans were proposed to transform it into luxury resorts, boutique hotels, and private residences for the wealthy. Investors saw opportunity in the location, an island only a short boat ride away from the beauty of Venice. But every project collapsed before it even began. Workers refused to stay. Engineers reported strange disturbances. Contractors quietly withdrew their offers. One by one, every attempt to reclaim the island faded away. Today, Poveglia remains locked behind government restrictions. But bans rarely stop curiosity. Over the decades, thrill seekers, urban explorers, and paranormal investigators have secretly traveled to the island under the cover of darkness. Their stories are surprisingly consistent. Even those who arrived as skeptics describe the same feeling. The moment their boats touched the rotting wooden pier, an overwhelming sense of dread filled the air. The island is strangely silent. No bird's nest in the trees. No fishermen anchor nearby. Even the wind seems to move cautiously through the broken buildings. Visitors describe the same disturbing sensation, as if the island itself is watching them. Inside the abandoned asylum, the atmosphere grows heavier. Dust covers rusted hospital beds. Broken wheelchairs lie scattered across the corridors. Long hallways stretch into darkness where the ceilings have partially collapsed. At night, explorers report hearing footsteps echoing through the empty wards. Doors slowly creak open. Objects move slightly when no one is near them. And sometimes, they hear a bell, a distant metallic ringing carried by the wind. This is impossible. The bell that once hung in the tower disappeared decades ago. Yet the sound continues to be reported by visitors again and again. Paranormal investigators who managed to bring recording equipment onto the island have captured chilling evidence. Electronic voice phenomena known as EVP. Recordings have revealed faint whispers hidden inside the static. Voices speaking in an old Venetian dialect. Some of the recordings are barely audible, but the words are unmistakable. Leave us, burn us, do not come back. One of the most disturbing stories emerged in the 1970 seconds when a wealthy family attempted to purchase the island. They planned to build a quiet holiday, residence far from the crowded canals of Venice. They arrived full of excitement. They stayed only one night. Before sunrise, their boat was already leaving the island. The family never spoke publicly about what happened, but local reports claim their young daughter suffered deep scratches across her face, wounds that doctors could not easily explain. The purchase was immediately cancelled. They never returned. Today, nature continues reclaiming Poveglia. Trees grow through the floors of the old asylum wards. The final archive. Today, Poveglia remains one of the most forbidden islands in Europe. From a distance, it appears peaceful, just another small piece of land resting quietly in the Venetian Lagoon. The trees sway slowly in the wind. The water moves gently along the broken docks. But those who know its history understand that the silence of Poveglia is not peaceful. It is heavy. For centuries, this island carried the suffering of thousands. The dying who were abandoned during the plague, the patients who were hidden away from society, the countless voices that were never meant to be heard again. Yet history has a strange way of refusing to stay buried. In 2014, the Italian government attempted once more to find a future for the island. A businessman won a long-term lease with plans to transform Poveglia into a luxury retreat. Restoration projects were discussed. Architectural plans were prepared. Investors imagined turning the ruins into a beautiful destination overlooking the lagoon. But years passed. No construction began. No workers moved in. The island remained untouched. Some locals believe the explanation is simple. They say Poveglia does not want to be disturbed. Among the fishermen and residents of Venice, old stories continue to circulate quietly. Stories passed down through generations. Stories about strange lights appearing on the island at night. About shadows moving inside the abandoned tower. About the faint ringing of a bell carried across the water when the fog becomes thick. Many believe the island serves a darker purpose, not merely as a graveyard, but as a kind of gateway. A place where the suffering of thousands of souls left a permanent imprint on reality itself. A place where the final moments of the dead continue repeating, trapped in an endless echo of pain and fear. Whether these stories are true or not, one fact remains undeniable. Poveglia is a monument to forgotten people, the sick who were cast away, the dying who were burned, the patients who were locked behind asylum walls and never seen again. Their stories were never written in official records. Their names faded from memory, but the island remembers, the soil remembers, and the wind that moves through the ruins still carries their silence. For the forgotten archives, Poveglia represents more than a haunted island. It is a reminder of what happens when societies choose to hide their suffering instead of confronting it. When people are abandoned and forgotten, their stories do not disappear. They linger. They whisper through history. And sometimes, if you listen closely enough, they call from the darkness. So if you ever find yourself standing on the shores of Venice, looking south across the lagoon, You may notice a dark shape resting on the horizon, an island surrounded by fog, an island where the bell no longer hangs, yet somehow still rings. And if the mist begins to roll across the water, you may feel the strange urge to look away.